Laziness is an acceptable, respectable, and very easy to commit sin, but also extremely dangerous. Are you perhaps what the Bible calls a sluggard? Let's find out. Welcome to Books of the Wise, where we talk about theology, good books, and the Bible. If you have ever read the book of Proverbs, then you will be familiar with the person known as the sluggard. Think of that word for a moment. It evokes in our minds the picture of a snail. It moves slowly. It doesn't get going. You must exercise external pressure on it to get to where you want it to be. And so is the lazy person. Slow, sluggish, and really useless. Now, if you're honest, we all battle with laziness from one time or another. So the idea here is not to see if you have ever been lazy. Rather, you should evaluate whether laziness has become a pattern in your life. So as we go through these marks of laziness, test yourself to see if you are a sluggard or not. Remember, all conviction of your sin should lead you to Jesus Christ, the only one that can deal with your sin by repenting and trusting in Him alone. So here are the 7 marks of a sluggard. Mark number 1, a sluggard doesn't take initiative. Look at Proverbs 6, verse 6 to 8. It says, "Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest." The wise worker works like the ant without having anyone above him or her to tell it to work. They don't need a boss with a whip or the threat of a deadline to get going. But the sluggard is the opposite of that. You need to force them to work. If there's no boss, there's no work either. Listen to Proverbs 12, verse 24. "The hand of the diligent will rule, while the slothful will be put to forced labor." The hard worker is free, while the sluggard is a slave of work because that is his only option left. That's why people will feel like Proverbs 10, verse 26, "Like vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to those who send him." It is painful to rely on a sluggard because you will only have to do their job yourself or do it over because of his or her laziness. So ask yourself, how do you work when nobody is watching you? Are you just as hardworking without any eyes than when you know someone is there or will check up on you later? Here's a second mark. A sluggard loves excessive sleep and recreation when work is required. Back to Proverbs 6, verse 9. "How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep?" The sluggard doesn't get out of bed because he was up late all night playing his games or doing his hobbies or busy with his own recreation. Look at Proverbs 26, verse 14. "As a door turns on its hinges, so does a sluggard on his bed." The only noise a sluggard makes is the one he makes on his bed. But on the contrary, the hard worker is advised in 20, verse 13 to do the following. "Love not sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes and you will have plenty of bread." Now, this doesn't mean that you should work 7 days a week and sleep as little as possible. Rather, what is your attitude towards sleep and work? So ask yourself, do you love sleep and recreation to an excessive point? Is that all that is on your mind? Here's the third mark. A sluggard is an expert at procrastination. 6 verse 10. "A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest." The key word there is little. They don't waste a lot of time, only a little at a time. But it is those little wasting of time that leads to big consequences. Look at verse 11. "And poverty will come upon you like a robber and want like an armed man." So sluggards are experts at putting off, at procrastinating, of "I'll start tomorrow. I don't have to do that right away. There's plenty of time to finish that project." Yes, sometimes they don't waste a little time, but they waste a lot of time. Look at Proverbs 22, verse 13. "The sluggard says, there is a lion outside. I shall be killed in the streets." Listen to this quote from Jim Newheiser. "If the sluggard worked as hard at the job as he worked at avoiding work, he might be rich." By the way, this is a wonderfully helpful commentary on the book of Proverbs by Jim Newheiser. And if you'd like to buy it, I'll post a link in the description box below. While the lazy person makes excuses not to work, the diligent makes excuses to do the work. Again, that Proverbs 6 verse 8 shows us how a diligent worker looks like. She, the ant, prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. The wise ant prepares food in the summer so that it has food in the difficult winter months. They finish their work and prepare wisely for their future. So ask yourself, do you tend to finish your tasks and responsibilities late? Do you struggle to keep to deadlines? And do you work ahead whenever you are able to do so? The fourth mark, the sluggard complains about the simplest of tasks. Proverbs 26, verse 15. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish, it wears him out to bring it back to his mouth. So the idea here is the simplest of tasks is a burden to a sluggard. So ask yourself, do you find yourself complaining a lot? Do you find yourself doing only the things that are required of you, or do you delight to do work that is even not required of you? By the way, if you're finding value from this video, why don't you do the little work of lifting your finger and liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more great content. Number 5, a sluggard looks for easy money and falls for get-rich-quick schemes. Proverbs 10, verse 4, a slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Proverbs 13, verse 11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. God's method for increasing your wealth is little by little and through the hard work of a diligent hand. But the sluggard doesn't want to do that. The sluggard wants money now without any work. If something or someone promises them wealth by simply joining the pyramid scheme or simply paying a monthly subscription to some company, they're in. So ask yourself, are you set to work hard for your wealth? Are you determined to reject any promise of quick and hasty money? Or are you constantly looking for the next easy way to become rich? Here's a sixth mark. A sluggard is destroying those around him or her. Proverbs 18, verse 9. Whoever is slack in his work is a brother to him who destroys. Now, you might be tempted to think, what's the big deal about being lazy? I mean, is it really that bad? Well, look at this warning here. If you are lazy, you have a brother. You are a brother and closely akin to someone who actively burns and destroys. And what's the point? Laziness does a similar thing, but over the long haul. A sluggard's life will fall apart eventually. 24 verse 30 also gives us this imagery of what happens to a sluggard over a period of time. I passed by the field of a sluggard, by the vineyard of a man lacking sense, and behold, it was all overgrown with thorns. The ground was covered with nettles, and its stone wall was broken down. So literally, his house is falling apart. His room is chaotic. Nothing is in place. Everything is in disarray. So ask yourself, do you see the early patterns of a life falling apart? How does your marriage, your parenting, and your spiritual life look like? Is it growing by careful, faithful, and disciplined effort in those various areas of your life? The small thing is your room always a mess and your desk always unorganized? Those might be the early signs that you are becoming a sluggard. Here's the last mark of a sluggard. A sluggard's life will be hard. Proverbs 6 verse 11, and poverty will come upon you like a robber and want like an armed man. There's a saying, an easy life now, a hard life later. But a hard life now by working hard and following Christ, and an easy life later. Now, this is both true temporally as well as eternally. If you refuse to take the narrow gate, which Jesus said is hard, and there are few that find it, but instead of that, take the broad gate and the easy road of selfishness, of laziness, you will both suffer in this life as well as in the life to come eternally. But again, to follow Christ, to deny yourself, to pick up your cross and follow him, to lose your life, as Jesus said, in this world, Jesus says, you will save your life. Listen to Proverbs 13 verse 4. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. 20 verse 4 says a similar thing. It says, the sluggard does not plow in the autumn. He will seek at harvest and have nothing. The sluggard will have a lot of unfulfilled desires because he simply doesn't want to work. So ask yourself, which life do you want? Do you want to have the easy now and hard forever later? Or do you want to choose the difficult life, denying yourself, picking up your cross, following Christ now by working hard for his glory? And so find your life and your joy forever with him in heaven. But to work well, you need a good theology of rest. That's why I recommend you watch our video on how to avoid burning out next. But until next time, God bless.